everybody, it's Joe Parr, founder of the Ladies Working Dog Group. Are you feeling stuck with your gun dog training? Trust me, you're not alone, and that's exactly why you need to be here. Every week, we're bringing you the best tips and hacks to make training your gun dog easy peasy. We'll keep it straightforward, no fuss, just actionable guidance that you can put straight to use. So let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Founded to Fetch It. This week, we're going to be chatting all about the highlights from our first ever LWDG Weekender event. Joining me for this chat is our group experts, Gemma Martin, Claire Denia, and Samantha Taylor. We're going to be chatting to them all about the weekend, what their takeaways were, what they felt other people's takeaways were, and why you'll want to join us for next year's event. So before we get started, how are we all today, ladies?
I'm very well, thank you, Jo. It's nice to be home, but massively missing everyone from the weekend.
Same here, actually. I'm really well, but also missing everyone that we met and spent time with at the weekend.
It was fantastic to have a whole weekend where we got to spend it with each other and with our members and really just focus on helping one another and just like building friendships, because it's fantastic while we go online. But I almost think that every time we meet face to face, there's that little extra added sort of spark of connection where we get to know more about each other. Let's start with why we wanted to do the weekend event. Now, this has been planned for a long time, hasn't it? It was meant to run in 2020. That was going to be our first ever one. But then COVID hit and took us out of the running with that one. But it really has been important to do something like this for a long time.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about doing it in 2020 and I was like, this is really exciting. But actually, I think although COVID was obviously not a good thing, I think actually the fact it was delayed, the team and community we've got now made it. And maybe in 2020, that wouldn't have been quite the same.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And like the thought process we had as a sort of organization was to bring women together to almost have, like it started off, it was going to be called a conference, and then we decided conference was a little bit too formal, but it almost was like a social conference where we literally talk gun dog all weekend, but came at it so many different ways, different topics.
Yeah, I think it was great that we had such a variety of topics that we all spoke about. There was a vast range. It wasn't just out and out, this is how you train a gun dog and these are the exercises you need to do. It was coming at it from so many different angles that it gave a much wider perspective. And the feedback that we've got has been great. I think a lot of ladies took a lot away from it.
Yeah, and we tried to look at things that maybe we hadn't covered before. So there were slightly different topics that the ladies were hearing about. And added to that, I think it was just nice that the ladies, obviously they all come from different parts of the UK and we all see each other on video every couple of weeks. But they were actually able to sit in a room and chat about the topic as they went through and then have little debriefs about them afterwards. So yeah, it was really nice to see.
Now, the event took place in Newport in South Wales, just off the M4. This was our first Welsh event, and being Welsh, it was really lovely to run something in our home for me. But I also thought it was really great because we managed between us to find an amazing little venue that I think added to it. Like rather than just being like in a standard building, we were in like this barn that'd been converted. It almost felt like it was fitting for gun dog people, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And it was so cute, so quaint, and obviously decorated beautifully by yourself and everyone else that helped you. And it was great that there was like really good accommodation just down the road and nearly everyone was staying in the same place. So we're having breakfast together and things like that. So it was such a nice bonding experience. But yeah, it wasn't like we went to a massive hotel and just hired a big hall or a big room. It was just this really cute, quirky little renovated barn with just so much atmosphere, and it was just stunning.
What I think I loved about it is the fact that everybody's booked into the same hotel. So there was that whole thing of we had this little WhatsApp group and like from Friday afternoon as people were arriving, they were finding one another. Like, we hadn't even started the event and people were building friendships. And then they were together throughout the entire experience. The place was incredible and the staff, they were incredible. We can't thank them enough for what they did for us. But they provided us with lunch each day, our Saturday evening meal. All the time, we were together, weren't we?
Yeah, and I have to say the food was more than just okay. It was freaking epic. Yeah, great venue, great sort of atmosphere. It wasn't like a clinical conference hall like you usually find. So I think it almost sort of kept people more engaged. It was a nice, inviting environment rather than one that you just switch off in. So yeah, it was really good choice, Joe.
It's not down to me. Somebody else, a friend, found it for me, so I've got to be fair to that. And I've also got to bring in the point here that whilst we've been working quite a lot on the content, we had Lucy Hall from Lucy Clare Events making sure that she put together, and she event managed for us basically, did she? Lucy's one of our team. She's a judge for setters and pointers. You might have heard her on a previous podcast, but she has this events business. And between her and her very organisational mind and Stuart from Field and Fireside, they work together all the time for us. Their logical mind, which is far more organised than mine, made sure everything was ready so that when we got there, we didn't have to think about food or anything like that. They've done it all for us, haven't they?
They had, yeah, and I think they put it together really well. The things like the breaks were well timed, so it meant between talks, the ladies were able to get a couple of minutes of fresh air or refill their drinks, that sort of thing. So they came to the next talk ready, prepared, and refreshed. But I think also you've got to thank Mr. P, Joe, for keeping the technology going for the entire weekend and for keeping us standing and on track as well.
Yeah, we must thank Mr. P because I've got to be honest, I am technologically, I don't know what the word is that you're allowed to politically say anymore, but I'm not very good on technology. And without him, I don't think we would have got through it. I think we were all like, what do we do? But yeah, I think as well, that comes back to the fact that we run as a community. Bless him, he was the only man in the room for an entire weekend. And he probably came away from it thinking, I didn't like Gundogs before, I like them even less now. But after we saw how we were all planning the next one, yeah, but I think it was good that we had that community feel and everybody was relaxed. Like, I didn't, and I'm sure perhaps there might have been, but I didn't hear anyone complain, or they certainly didn't voice a complaint to us about anything at all.
No, everybody seemed to have the most amazing time. And yeah, you're so right about what you say about community. And I think the thing that really struck me, there was no judgment. There was no, my dog can do this. What does your dog do? There was absolutely none of that kind of atmosphere, tone, conversation. Everyone was literally supporting each other. There were ladies that obviously some of them I have met in person before, some of them I've not met in person before. And it was like you'd known them your whole life. Everybody was just like putting faces to names and just being so accommodating of everybody. And it didn't matter whether your dog was an absolute beginner, whether you lived in the city or in the country. None of that mattered. Everyone was just like there to learn and to help create this amazing community, which it just felt like it was a massive extension of what the LWDG is, didn't it? It just felt like we went from being this online community to a real in-person community. And I think the events we've done, the training days and weekends we've done this year have aided that, because some of the ladies had met on some of the training days, which was really lovely, because then they were sharing stories about what they've been doing since they were on training days or training weekend. But it's just like it took the LWDG to like the next level.
And even us being together, we did that live Q&A with the three of us sitting together. And despite us doing that every 2 weeks on a video, it was so much different and we could bounce off each other better and almost demo things together, which we did. So it was just not, it just evolved even more from what we normally do. So it was lovely.
You guys doing the live Q&A together, the Ask Attending, was brilliant. And the fact that we could live stream that into our society members group. So even though there were people who weren't at the event, we managed to include them through that. Charlotte doing the social media, asking questions into the group all the time. Even if you weren't there, that you probably felt like you were part of it, which was really important to us. But watching you guys like literally doing after attending together, like when we do it online, we have to wait for the other to talk with not virtual pauses, but there's online pauses in there when you like go from one person to the next, etc. We didn't have any of that. We had the proper had conversation. We all sat outside on benches. It was a cracking day, which is fantastic for South Wales. And it actually felt like the dog and duck, which is what it was first called. It's called the dog and duck because COVID stopped us all like meeting down the pub. This became our online meeting down the pub to have a chat about our dogs. The weekend, we finally did that. We like literally chatted down the pub together about our dog things. I thought it was sensational. It was like really good fun. Did you guys all enjoy being able to like just interact face to face?
Yeah, definitely. But it did come with its pub hazards, didn't it? Like the wobbly bench. We all nearly fell off and Sam's drink flying across the table mid-live.
I just not a bit enthusiastic about dogs. That's all.
You guys, how made you feel? It made it being down the pub. It was that laughing and that joking. And all the other ladies were sitting on benches together and talking. And people online were sending us questions and we could answer them. And people sitting in front of us were asking questions and we could answer them. I just felt like we've always felt like community, but that hour was incredibly special. It felt incredibly interactive and relaxed.
We always bounce off of each other really well anyway, but I just felt doing it in person, it was so much easier to literally bounce off of each other at times and to get the conversation more as a conversation because we were just vibing off of each other. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's how it felt. It felt like we were vibing off of each other and like then getting up and doing silly demos with one of us pretending to be dog and the other one. And that just created a little bit more fun and humour to it as well. Because some of them were serious topics, but we still managed to keep it quite light-hearted and keep everybody kind of smiling and laughing their way through it. It was brilliant fun. So good fun.
For me, like we started the whole weekend with a mindset presentation from myself about if I am the problem, I am also the solution. And not from a negative point of, oh my God, it's me ruining my dog, but from the fact of, if I've got this problem in front of me, I can also have the ability to find the solution. And we started off again with that. And I think all the way through each of the presentations, that theme remained because they would give you their problems and then you would give them solutions and have them find the solution for their dog. And even in the Ask Anything, they were part of that. They were sharing with you where they were stuck, and instantly we were like, you fix it like this, you fix it like this, you fix it like this. And what I really loved about it as well, the three of you train very similarly, but not completely. So we weren't giving them like one way of fixing it. We were saying, this could work with your dog, or this could work, or this could work. For them to then go back and find the right way to train the dog in front of them.
I feel like the little sentence we said quite a lot was, it depends. And it always does depend because every dog and every handler is unique and different. But we kept saying that. But yeah, I agree. It was amazing when one of us gave one possible solution, but then Sam or Jem would give another possible solution. Because at the end of the day, especially when we don't know that dog, you've got to give them more than one solution because we don't know which solution is going to be right for that dog and that handler. So I thought that was brilliant. But yes, we train so similarly in a lot of ways. And we massively complement one each other, but we also each bring something slightly different and unique to the table, which gives a lot more, I think, opportunity and a lot more choice for handlers in what they believe might work better for their dog. And if that doesn't work, they can try one of the other ideas.
I also liked the fact it was difficult at the beginning when we were planning logistics because we had ladies coming without their dogs. And all our training events are pretty much sold out as soon as we put them up for our members. They never get out to the general public. We just sell out straight away. And I thought this is our first non-dog event. We didn't know how it was going to go. And coming away from it on reflection, I think it went really well because instead of the ladies having to try to focus on what we were going through with them, perhaps have a dog at their feet that they would try and keep settled for 2 days, which is a long day for any dog to settle, or running off to do dog breaks, dog walks, dog weaves, all those type of things in between. They stayed together as a group. They would learn about a topic, they would ask questions, and then I would almost see as soon as we finished that presentation and had a little break for like teas and coffees and biscuits, they would still keep that conversation going on the table and get our peer input on that sort of topic as well.
Yeah, and I think instantly, as soon as you've got your dog there, you almost have this added anxiety of how your dog's going to behave. Are they going to behave themselves in front of people? And of course, nobody's going to care. But that's always going to be in the back of your mind going, oh, I hope they don't embarrass me. I hope they don't do this. Or I better go and make sure they've got water. So it does take your mind away from what you're actually there to be listening to. So I think it was beneficial for the ladies to just have a bit of downtime, have a bit of respite from their dogs and just chat with friends.
Yeah, because I think if you come there and you're frustrated with your dog, we gave them an entire 48 hours to decompress their problems with their dog, think about ways forward, think about the ways they could solve it. So they didn't feel helpless with it or confused or overwhelmed. They all had notebooks. They were all taking notes of ways they could move their dogs forward once they got home. And because they weren't there, they didn't think, oh, I'll go outside and try this now. They gave themselves enough time to take on board more than one topic. So, for example, they might have thought, I will do A after we'd done presentation 1. But then we'd done presentation 3. They were like, okay, this is my plan from this morning, but I'm going to add in these other bits. And I think that gave them loads of space to come up with a really, not such a cohesive plan, but a plan based on a broad range of input rather than like a knee-jerk reaction to something.
I think it did. It gave them that headspace, like you say, to just not have that added anxiety of, has my dog got water? I need to let it out for a wee. Is it settled where I've left it, where I've put it? And it gave them time to properly think in depth. And then obviously for those that were really missing their dogs, we had the dummy throwing competition anyway, which I have to add actually only worked for me when I put my added imaginary dog in there. It meant that we could practice something else that was dog related and imagine that we were throwing dummies for our dog whilst we were doing it.
The dummy throwing competition was great because I also think sometimes, like even that skill, we don't even realize the things that we can go out and do that's dog related without our dogs. Like how many of us tried to throw dummies and we're like, oh, that's not where I wanted to put it for the dog. But then how many of us have thought, I tell you what, I'll go out and practice throwing dummies today without the dog. And I just thought it was a bit of fun. It was a bit of activity because we all know what it's like. When people are giving us a lot of information, we sit in, we write in, we're taking notes. It's nice to get up, stretch ourselves, do something a little different. So yeah, I think that went fabulously. And Sam, I think you were the only person who hit the target every single time, weren't you?
I know I missed it on the practice run, and then that was when I decided I needed the imaginary dog, and it went okay from there.
Let's talk about the sessions we did, because people might think, what could you guys talk about? You talk about loads of stuff on the podcast. You've done loads of masterclasses, members. We talk on Ask Anything. We pretty much, if you need to fix it with a gun dog, we've got a video somewhere or a podcast somewhere that tells you how to fix it. Without a doubt, we are probably one of the biggest gun dog video encyclopedias there are out there. But what did you guys bring to your presentations you thought actually, because you all brought something unique that we hadn't covered in that way before?
I talked about steadiness, self-control, but how to get that without losing drive in the gun dog. And yes, I've done a masterclass on steadiness, and in the Hot Mess Handler, we've got a self-control and steadiness element. But I wanted to put a different twist on it that we hadn't covered before, because some of the most common questions that we get are always related to what's going on with the dog in the space of the handler, whether that be the steadiness or the heel work, how the dog's behaving in the space of the handler. And a lot of the time it's quite messy. So the dog might have quite good technical skills at hunting or at retrieving, but the little bit around the handler is often the bit that's not given enough attention to and can be quite messy. And the spin that I put on it was actually to do with how to not create conflict in the dog in that heel position when you're doing steadiness training, by perhaps the messages you're giving your dog in the steadiness training. So we talked about the damage that you can do through overcorrection, because if you think about it, when you're teaching a dog to be steady to throwing dummies, to be steady to dogs going past, to be steady to shot, the dog is always in that heel position. And a lot of people really struggle with heel work in general and keeping the dog close. And I wanted to put a spin on it about making sure you're not creating conflict for the dog in the heel position by overcorrecting the dog in that position. Because a lot of the time, heel work, we have to look at the relationship, but the dog is in heel when we're doing steadiness training. So what I was educating on was more about how to put a lid on the dog's drive to prevent unwanted behaviours that are a result of the dog kind of having a lack of self-control when you're trying to train steadiness. So putting a lid on it so the dog is simmering away, still highly driven, still highly motivated, but without the symptom of a lack of self-control. So like you're whining, you're lunging, barking, yipping, shuffling forward, all of those things that are a symptom of a dog that lacks self-control that we very often see in steadiness. How to teach the dog how to come up and down through arousal levels, how to teach the dog to keep the drive, but keep a little lid on it, simmering away, so that when you either cast the dog off to hunt or cast them off to retrieve, the dog still does that with drive, with power, with desire, and that you haven't squashed that when you're teaching the steadiness.
Yeah, so I wanted to do something that we hadn't massively covered before, because a lot of the ladies' dogs aren't purely working dogs that live in kennels and just do a job. They're mainly pet dogs that also have to be this dual purpose pet that goes out with them and does fun pet dog stuff. I wanted to look at ways that the ladies could get out with their dogs but still maintain that engagement and bubble, as I call it, around them when they're walking and just having downtime with their dogs. So we spoke about allowing the dogs free time within boundaries, building that engagement, doing sort of breed specific and drive specific stuff to help build that bond with your dog, so that you're doing something you both enjoy rather than constantly being this nag saying, don't do that, don't get your nose down, don't go in that bush, don't do this. Because Claire just touched on, we cause a lot of conflict with our dog, and then that engagement just disappears because the dog doesn't want to be with us, really. So we spoke a lot about that, and actually it tied in quite well with Claire's talk about the steadiness and self-control, because it's about building that bond, building that engagement, and also building that self-control in your dog. But yeah, I had fun chatting about something different. So Sam, what did you chat about?
Yeah, I spoke about body language. So body language is something that it fascinates me a lot, being able to pick up little subtle cues and thought processes, but also how we return our communication with body language. But we've done a masterclass before on signs to look out for and different styles of body language that you should take note of. So I wanted to put a little bit of a different spin on it and include something different. So I went back to our ancestors basically and how they initially would have used body language to start creating the breeds that we've got today. They'd have looked at the strengths and the weaknesses within certain dogs and then, well, like I say, created the breeds. I looked into how the dog's brain function is a huge attribute to body language and how they read it and how they use it. And little things like the way we look, the way we speak, the way we're dressed, all that can make a massive difference. So rather than it being, if you're looking at a dog and you can see the whites of its eyes and it's lip licking and its ears are slightly back. You see, that's when people say body language, that's probably the first thing that comes to mind, because they go, that's how you look for a nervous dog. But I didn't want it to be just about those little behaviors or signs that you look for, and more about the picture as a whole, and then how to use it and how to read it, how to act on it, and how to use it to be beneficial to then bring in this sort of brilliant partnership between you and your canine friend that you can just keep using and keep progressing and keep fulfilling this mutual bond moving forwards.
I have to give it to you, Sam. When I turned around and you had a beanie on your head and sunglasses indoors, I was like, where's she going with this? But it was all incredibly brilliant. And what I did like as well, I loved all your presentations. One of the things that I noted from Sam's as well is people who then we talk about opening up and feeling like you're in a non-judgmental space. People who were saying, I've never been mean to my dog, but my dog displays nervous behaviours. And then you will explain to them why those behaviours might not be nervousness. And I was like, I know we do so much stuff which really helps women to get rid of their guilt or worry that they are doing things wrong for the dogs. And I was watching as you were doing that, and people going, oh, okay, so that could be this. And I was like, you can almost see them relax and go, I haven't done anything wrong there. The dog is showing a behaviour, but maybe I'm reading it one way and it's actually meaning another. And I really loved that. I think a lot of people were able to learn so much from the three of you about how things are standardly explained, but then when we took them in the context you were on about, we were able to spin it and say, yeah, it can be that, but it can also be this. Have you thought about that? And they were all able to go, oh, that makes far more sense in my dog's situation than bog standard. Your dog shows the whites of his eyes, it must be terrified. Your dog eats grass, it must be sick. We opened that up for them and really got them to evolve in their thinking, I think, as trainers and owners, that they could keep digging deeper and find out what that behaviour meant or what they were doing to their dog, whatever it was, how it reflected on their dog. Do you know what I mean with that?
I think that makes perfect sense. And I think it comes back to what Claire said earlier and what we said a lot at the weekend. It depends on the dog. Every dog is unique. Every handler is unique. And I think all of the talks allowed ladies to see a different spin on things, but also to open up some rabbit holes, if you like. They want you could then go and delve deeper, having a new perspective and a new understanding on all of the topics that were covered.
I also think we had other talks as well. I loved the one from Lucy about setters in the UK. I felt sad for setters in the UK because there seems to be real chance they are endangered and we will lose them as a breed, which is tragic when they're such a beautiful dog. I'm watching her videos of her dogs working. I think a lot of owners where you went, should my dog were going 30 foot away, were like, what have I got to worry about? Lucy's dog's 300 foot away, which was nice to see. For them to see how these dogs really do work in the field. I loved what Claire and Sue from Fields of Fireside did about equipment. That I think was really eye-opening because people got to see loads more about what do I need, what don't I need, what can my dog carry, what can't my dog carry, how can I get my dog better able to carry, things like that, which was fab. I loved the stuff that we had guest speakers. So Gemma Cooper from JCB Physio, when she did about the basic first aid and working dogs, that what you can get from home bargains that you can have with you. She gave us some real massive insight. And I also loved physio in working dogs conversation with Natalie from the same organisation, who, again, she really made me think about stuff like, not so much like warming up, because we've got a masterclass on fitness in working dogs. So putting together a fitness plan for your working dog. That's all there for people. But more about like repetitive strain injuries. Like she really made me think, when we're asking the dog to do the same behaviour over and over, are we causing these sort of micro breaks, things like that?
I really enjoyed that talk, but I think that's because I'm really very conscious, and us guys, we talk quite a lot about age appropriate training, and we've done the podcast, The Age Race. And so we've all got this passion for not rushing dogs and considering the dog's health and well-being throughout life. But that we were talking about, I think after she had done her talk, when there were questions, we were talking about like the longevity. We don't want our dogs to be retired at 5 years of age. We want them to be fit and well enough to work for as long as they can. Edie retired at 11. She's 12 now. Dude's 10 and a half, and he's semi-retired. But if we maybe hadn't or considered all of those kind of aspects and looked after their health holistically, so looking at them not just through fitness, but also health and diet, which obviously Charlotte gave us an insight into, but also how we can keep them from injury, how we can prevent injury, how we can deal with injury, and all of those things. We're able to have these dogs that can work probably far longer into their life than maybe some other folks who take their dogs out very young, very early, don't consider the holistic approach and well-being of that dog, because some of those dogs retire when they're 5, 6 years old. And I thoroughly enjoyed that talk. I took a lot of notes from that talk. I took notes on everybody's talks, but that one, I think because I used the Chirovet with my own dogs to support their well-being, I just found that really fascinating. And especially like you say, Jo, about the micro tears and things like that, because quite often we don't know there's an injury until there's a big injury, but how long that could have been building up for with this little micro one. So I found that really fascinating. I thought that was really interesting.
It made me think hugely about how the Gundog sport pushes perhaps way too soon. And then when they get to 1 and they're paying for hip scores and elbow scores and all these things that they want the dogs to do well on. And I'm like, sorry, how much of high scores is created by pushing the dog before as well? You know, and like we talk about it, the agility world will not let a dog do anything until it's 1 year old. Yet by 1, some of us are like totally bragging that our dog can jump a 5-bar gate. It reminded me a little bit of the thoroughbred racing world, where they come in really young and they work really young and they don't have long lives of being able to compete at a level. I feel like we need to learn, and I know we push all the time, but we need to learn to slow these dogs down from not just a mental perspective, but from a physical perspective.
Yeah, at the moment, keeping Jeannie safe is like super hard. The bit I can do, because she's so adventurous and she wants to give everything a go, she thinks she's a mountain goat half the time. So I have to do my bit to ensure I'm not adding to that by asking her to do things that are not age appropriate. Because if you add that to the things she naturally wants to do, then you are putting a lot more risk on the dog, a lot more risk of injury, of things later in life happening as a result of that. And like, so she will want to climb on things and jump on things, and given her chance, she'll jump off things. So I'm like, you ain't jumping yet, love, because I need to protect you because you're not protecting yourself. So the little bit that I can do to ensure it counterbalances the bit that I can't control that she wants to do, like launching herself on top of the other dogs when they're like, oh my goodness, the legs. But yeah, what we can do, yes, if people have the mindset that the dog's doing it on its own anyway, so I'm going to do it, you're just adding to it. If you go, the dog's doing this, so I need to protect the dog by doing the opposite, then at least you're putting some balance on that, right?
Yeah, and I always refer things back to humans. If you see a 2-year-old climbing up a 5-bar gate to jump off it, you say to them, get down, it's not safe. I don't think at that point we're logically thinking, what is this doing for impact for their bones? That's not what we're thinking. But we just know instinctively that young people, young animals, young creatures shouldn't be launching themselves off things. That it's not a safe place to go. But I think, again, we see our dogs, we see them when we're 6 or 7 months, and we think they are fully grown, and they're nowhere near it. And it does need a huge shift in how people think. And I think the other amazing thing that came away from the weekend is I genuinely felt we'd started moving further forward these ideas of how we treat gun dogs in the future. And that not just being something that affects our community, but also we start taking that out like literally globally. There is no need to rush them. A dog has a long active life. It doesn't need to be going 1,000 miles an hour when it's one, because a dog well looked after can be as valuable, if not more valuable, each parent if treated appropriately.
Absolutely. And I think being more mindful of the physical repercussions of advancing a dog too quickly actually helps you to slow down on the training as well. Because you've not got in the back of your head, I've got to get this dog fully trained by 1-year-old to get it out on the field. You go, actually, if it takes 6 months to teach this particular area of training, it doesn't matter, because I'm not looking to push my dog too quickly for their physical side. So the training can, I think they complement each other. Being able to take both things steadily is a really good thing.
The other thing I think I took from the physio talk was this fact that where you have these micro breaks, time taken to heal, like how quickly we bring those impacts back on. And again, why slow down? And this podcast episode isn't about slowing down, although we seem to talk about it a lot because I think it's a very important part of what we're doing with our dogs. But I think if we understand a little bit more about the science, we are far quicker put those things in place, because we're like, hold on, this isn't just about what looks good or vanity metric or anything like that. This is about what's mentally and physically better for my dog.
And if you think, for example, for sort of a Labrador sized dog, their bones and growth plates and the muscles surrounding them are not going to be fully formed until that dog's around 18 months old-ish, a rough guy. So if you've got that sort of 9-10-month-old Labrador jumping high jumps and twisting repeatedly on outs and backs, and then their little legs are not fully formed yet, when you think about that, it makes you feel a little bit sick, or it makes us feel a little bit queasy, because I'm like, this is going to impact this dog. So we've got to slow it down. So with little Jeannie at the minute, she's 6 months. It's a lot of straight line, strengthening her core, trying to get her movement nice and fluid and straight, because she's a gangly little thing at the minute. Her legs look like octopus's legs at the minute. So everything we can do to make her straight and strong is so important. I don't want to do things that are going to add to the craziness that she already does of her own accord. I can't stop her being crazy, because that's just her nature. So I just have to do what I can through training and management to protect her.
Going forward, on the weekend I got to the end of day one and people were like, are you doing it next year? We were like, yes, we're doing it next year. We've already decided it's definitely going ahead next year. It's definitely going ahead the same weekend next year. It'll be dog free or minimum dog friendly. So the ladies can be in the room and learn without having to worry, what is my dog at now? Jen, you were fantastic all weekend. You took loads and loads of photos, which are so beautiful. It's so lovely to capture the feeling of the event. But you also did the video at the end, so like participant feedback. How do you, once you talk to them all, what do you think their biggest takeaways were when you were talking to them?
I think that's what made it so nice. I think everyone had different little takeaways from the weekend, but they all had the general theme of how nice it was to be in a room full of supportive women, talking to each other, making friends, and just be sociable with people that have got really similar interests, even though they come from vastly different backgrounds. So yeah, I don't think there was a massive theme other than the social side of it and how much they'd enjoyed learning, that everyone took lots of different things away.
I think we can all say, and be all very proud of, we started this theme of, if I am the problem, I'm also the solution. And by this Sunday, when we closed, they all felt really strongly empowered that they could go back and continue to maybe fix what they felt was a problem with their dog, or develop their dog on further. And for me, that was incredibly inspiring. And to see how many people were like messaging us who hadn't been this year, I'm in next year, I want to see next year, because this really was, I believe, the only type of event of this kind ever.
Yeah, I think definitely it's probably the first women's only training like conference/weekender thing. And I think that's what made it really special as well, because obviously the ladies know each other from the group online and they've seen each other on Dog and Duck and things. But suddenly they were all able to be in the same room and hear each other's struggles and support each other, saying, oh, that happens to me too. And just be there for each other. It was really nice.
So just wrap up this podcast, which we thought was going to be a really quick podcast, and yet again we're like an hour into it. But it was really valuable, and it has been worth our time to go through what an incredible weekend to us. For you three, what would you like to convey to people who couldn't come this time?
Personally, for me, online obviously gives you so much support that you wouldn't have if you didn't have that. But that in person, getting to know people, the face-to-face, the support, the learning, you can't beat that. And it is different. It did feel different. Even though we were doing a live Q&A that we do every fortnight virtually, doing that live Q&A in person felt different. I think what you take on board, and the fact that after the talks, after every single talk, the ladies had the opportunity to ask questions. So they were all sitting there taking notes throughout the seminars, throughout the talks, and then at the end asking questions that were then more thought-provoking, that then got another lady to ask another question. And so that side of it, that kind of everyone bouncing off of each other and learning through each other's experience. What we as an organisation provide online is extraordinary. It really is. But the in-person version of it was just mind-blowing.
I completely agree. And I think for anyone that's thinking, oh, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go and that sort of thing, I think the feedback itself says absolutely you did. We all missed you. We wish that you could have been there. Some people obviously said, oh, I'm really sorry, I can't make the drive, or I can't get anyone to look after the dog or anything like that. But I think what Claire said, it's so much more personal, and confidence brings more confidence. Someone asks a question, and like Claire said, so someone else then thinks of another question.
And it's a whole weekend, so you almost get immersed in it. You don't have to dip in for half an hour to watch something and go, oh, yeah, no, I need to remember that. You can fully immerse yourself in all the talks and the information that you're getting. Have a bit of downtime, and then in the evening, you can chill out with all the new ladies that you've met and follow on discussions. I know we had a bit of a laugh every evening, didn't we? It was really good. And I think if you're on the fence about doing it next year, then jump off and jump in.
I think we've probably already sold out next year's without even putting the tickets up. It really does feel like that. And the feedback that's been put up on our highlights on Instagram at Ladies Working Dogs, the feedback that's been shared in the group, we haven't even sent out the official feedback forms yet, and it's been absolutely amazing. I do want to give big thanks to the people who supported our goodie bags now. We had leads and we had dummies from Sporting Saint. We put in dummies. Acme put in whistles for us all. Sue put in from Field and Fireside, loads of goodies. We had Howard giving us the fantastic car sprays and room sprays that just eliminate dog smell. I'm trying to think what else was in them. There was bags, there was for our VIPs, we had Magic Month planners, we had Quick Fire planners. They really were amazing goodie bags. Just trying to pick the natural food, put in samples of their food for us, and Charlotte did the understanding the brand label talk with us, which was incredible. And I think the ladies took forward from that. I'm just trying to think, have I missed anything, girls, that was in those bags? I don't think I have I?
I think so. I'm thinking it through in my head. There was then barrels were like rammed. They were like overflowing with gifts.
Yeah, and I thought that was something I really appreciate the people who gave to make sure those bags were like that, because leads, dummies, whistles, they're not cheap. They're really lovely things. Big, massive crunch bags with enough treats to probably keep you going for 6 months. They were massive stuff and super putting them all together to us. It just meant that when people walked in the room, there were notebooks out. There was everything up. There was everything there that this person needed to feel like the love that we feel for them, the love that we have for our community, and how much people want to support them, whether they're in or not in the room. The companies still want to support those women in having a fantastic time with their dogs. Of course, we ended the weekend with a surprise announcement, which is still going to be a surprise. It's still top secret, only known by those in the room until the 1st of July, when we'll be announcing it to the world. But also, I think as well, we ended where pretty much all of us were in tears. And that was quite nice because you could see what I think sometimes you can't see online, which is we really truly are a community, aren't we? We are friends. And anyone who wants to join us becomes a friend.
I think we all had a little blubbing moment at the end. It was that overwhelming. It was such an amazing weekend, and it came to an end, and it was like, oh, but yeah, every time I looked at Sam or Jem and then you, everyone had tears in their eyes. I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't stop crying now. And everyone else, oh yeah.
Oh, we have to give another big thanks to you guys because, and obviously to Lucy and Sue and to Charlotte and to Mr. B, because you gave up an entire weekend to spend it with us. And we all have busy lives. We all have busy businesses. And it did mean the world to me that you were there for the first one. You were always there for our community. You never faltered. But it was really lovely to have this entire weekend where I got from a personal point to spend the weekend with you three. I can't even think of another time that all of us have been together for that amount of time. I don't think this is it. We've not had that because we all met online. We became best friends online. So it was lovely for us to just spend the time with each other. So yeah, big massive thank you to you guys. Big thank you to your other half and to your organizations for letting you go to us for a weekend because it meant that they lost you for a weekend. But we do massively appreciate it. If you are thinking of becoming a member, please visit us on www.ladiesworkingdogroup.com. We are here to help you at any time. There is no such thing as a stupid question. The lovely experts who have chatted to you today and on all our other podcasts will always be there for you to help you, as will our community. If you are one of those people who gave, who helped, we massively thank you. Please subscribe, please review, and please share because more people we let know about the podcast and free stuff we have to help you, the more ladies and gentlemen out there that we can help with their journey with their Gundogs. That's all for this week. We hope you've enjoyed, and we'll speak to you all about another topic next week.
That's it for today's episode. A massive thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to head over to the LWDG and sign up for our membership. Get access to expert-led training, a wonderfully supportive community, and the resources you need to become a confident and skilled gun dog trainer. Let's take this journey together because no woman should have to train her gun dog alone. We'll see you all next week.